I think practitioners particularly do. And I'll give you an example why. Because at the time when I first started, or even between 90 and 95, the models were so different and had such different theoretical bases and consequently interventions. For example, in Manitoba and in certain other places, they only use the family violence model. So they use the same model as what we were using in family violence for seniors who are victims of abuse in general. And they didn't really get that there were other factors and indicators that were also part of elder abuse. So if you focus on, and they have very feminist approaches, so we only tend to work mainly on the women, we only tend to, we put the older victims, and I did when I first started out, because I used to read what other people did. So we, in our intervention model in NDG, when we first began, in CLSE Metro even before then, we used to we had family violence support groups for battered women. And we used to put we started putting our older persons who were victims of spouse abuse in those same groups. And it didn't work out at all. In fact, the older seniors were convincing the younger seniors not to, that they should be staying with their husbands rather than leaving them and going to shelters, etc. Because they thought quite differently. And so these are the kinds of things that's just one example. I can tell you different examples for all the theoretical models. But if you stick only to one model, each of the models has some limitations, the theoretical models. And this is why I decided in my research, I did a lot of work on the theoretical models and came up with the idea of having more of a systemic environmental empowerment model, because it applied to everybody in whatever situation they were in, and they were more global theoretical perspectives, which were perhaps complex to apply, but also they do apply. But most of the other people had the caregiver situation model, so they were saying that the reason that elder abuse existed was because caregivers are so stressed. Well, this is an example that I found in my research, and other people have found in their research studies, that in fact it's not true. Some caregivers are more stressed than others, but are not necessarily abusive. But if caregivers who are depressed are more likely to be perpetrators of abuse than caregivers who are just generally, who are not depressed, but all of them are stressed. So these are the kind of things that when you do a lot of research and you're you kind of look at the quantitative as well as the qualitative, you often see things a little differently.